Господине Желиковски, најновите информации кои доаѓаат од светските медиуми всушност, како што е CNN, говорат дека руските трупи длабоко навлегуваат, напредуваат во украинската територија. Веќе се стационирани единици на руската платеничка група Вагнер.
Yes. Thank you. First of all, I want to note that the situation has been dangerous for the last 8 years, because exactly 8 years ago, on the 20th of February 2014, the military invasion of the Russian Federation into Ukraine began. The Crimean Peninsula was occupied and the war on the Donbas exploded. Since then, there has been almost no day that shots have not been fired from Russian weapons, and more than 40,000 people have fallen victim to the war. Indeed, the current situation has become extremely threatening. The Russian Federation has amassed more than 100,000 troops on the border with Ukraine, has made ultimatums to Kyiv and the West to provide written security guarantees, and commits different provocations in the Ukrainian territory. It is reported that from different sources began to receive information on the preparation of occupation troops and their Russian curators of the series of provocation in connection with the exacerbation of the situation on the delimitation line. According to intelligence, in order to carry out provocations to Donetsk, the units of the Wagner arrived, which together with Russian special services should be held a series of terrorist attacks, namely undermined residential buildings. The purpose of provocations, of course, will accuse Ukraine for further escalation. However, the Ukrainian military emphasized that they have no plans for any offensive or other actions in the temporarily occupied territories.
Британскиот премиер Борис Џонсон денеска даде една застрашувачка практично изјава, како вели тој дека Русија планира во Европа најголема војна од 1945 година.
Thank you. The Ukrainian and world community closely monitors the development of events. The worst scenario of development of the situation is not excluded. For example, President Joe Biden on Friday said the United States has reason to believe that Russia will attack Ukraine's capital within the coming days, calling the situation a rapidly escalating crisis. Many other leaders in the world also agree with this opinion, for example, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. That is why Ukraine has recently received huge political, diplomatic, and military assistance. These days, the fate of the democratic world is being decided, and the Ukrainian state is now at the forefront of the confrontation between freedom and tyranny.
Зошто Соединетите Американски држави, зошто западните демократи, западните земји не наметнат посилни, по-сериозни санкции врз Путин и врз Русија?
The Ukrainian state has long and consistently asked the West to apply economic and political sanctions against Russia preventively before it physically invades Ukraine. For example, President Volodymyr Zelensky, in his address to the Munich Security Conference, asked the West not to delay sanctions against Russia until after the invasion, but to implement them preemptively, especially if Russia doesn't pull back its troops encircling Ukraine. But so far, Kyiv has not received any positive response to its calls for preventive sanctions. The most common explanation is that the preparation of sanctions is an element of deterrence of Russia. However, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba reported at the Munich Security Conference that Ukraine was negotiating the imposition of preventive sanctions against the Russian Federation. He said there are grounds to impose sanctions now. We hope for this.
Станислав Желиковски, благодарам што бевте гостин во 24 вестите.